Howdy, howdy, howdy. I don't know. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Steve's Dangits. It says on the monitor. Steve Dangits is a series of videos where I talk about plays from the past week that made me, or the fans, or the coaches, or the players, or whoever say, dang it. And I don't want to waste your time this week because we got a doozy. For the third dang it, I actually missed my exit on the highway because I was rehearsing what I wanted to say in the car. Brad Marchand. I was screaming at Brad Marchand in my head alone. It's healthy. But we're not going to start with him. We're going to start with this. Robin Lehner with a gift to the Carolina Hurricanes.
Lehner stops it back in the net. Wanted to play it to us. And knocked it down. Scores! Williams!
Lays this into the zone, and Sebastian Aho comes in. Leonard's got two options. He either tries to go forehand around the boards, or he goes back behind him. He chooses to go through Aho. It doesn't work out.
Oh, that's a dang it. It's kind of funny. In the first round, the New York Islanders obviously swept the Pittsburgh Penguins. But in most of those games, it didn't feel like the two teams were separated by much. It was close. Right now, the Hurricanes are up 3-0 on the Islanders. But again, the series has not been separated by much, which is why this is such a dang it. Tied 2-2 in the third period. Oh, you can't be. I would love to know how many plays this season, at least at the end of it, when all things are said and done, how many plays in dang it videos were goalies coming out of their net to handle the puck? How many goalies in the NHL are good at it? Like 3? And I get why they do it and they try to help out their defenders and maybe start the rush a little quicker. But sometimes I wonder if the risk is worth the reward, and this is a time where the goalie got bit. And of course, the goal scorer with a fluky looking goal, but it really doesn't matter. It was a goal. Justin Williams. And some players got a magic and some teams have a magic. I think the Hurricanes have both with Justin Williams, just a little sprinkle. And while he should be commended, that's a dang it. Not a series costing dang it though. Man, people have written off the Islanders all season long. If anyone's gonna come back from a 3-0 deficit, it's them. Hold on to your hats, because this is Dang It's. Hat Picks is another video. Our next dang it, it's kind of hard to say. We kind of just have to say the whole Dallas-St. Louis series. But we're gonna start simpler. We're gonna go with Esa Lindell, doing a little bit of this. That's the international sign for diving, at least in hockey anyway.
Is the penalty kill at the beginning of the period that reinvigorated the St. Louis Blues. See if they can carry that momentum here at the end of the period.
Lindell was knocked hard to the boards. Knocked down by Bortuzzo.
He's going to get a diving. Lindell will get a dive, and Bortuzzo will get a cross-check.
And then Bortuzzo sent him to the ice again, Pierre.
Yeah, they wanted Bortuzzo in the lineup for these rough situations and grinding down low and all that. So Bortuzzo's getting 2 for cross-checking. And embellishment to Lindell. Yeah, your arms don't go flying when you cross-check. Yeah, sorry, but your arms don't go flying. That was another.
I think it was that second one that really got the embellishment call, and then maybe perhaps a third.
So Bortuzzo for cross-checking, Lindell for embellishment.
Robert Bortuzzo just demolishing Esa Lindell. You knew when he started going after guys on the other team that the rest of the league was in trouble. You see, because he beat up his own teammate and we forgot about it. Now listen, one of the items that has sort of been talked about quite a bit in these playoffs across a bunch of series is how cross-checking isn't a penalty anymore. So you might look at this and go, well, how dare Robert Bortuzzo do those 3 cross-checks? Those weren't cross-checks, they were cross-checks. I want you to look at this again and tell me which one you think it was. Okay, I'm sure you've come to a conclusion by now. You probably did after the first viewing. This play was called as a dive for Esa Lindell and a cross-check for Robert Bortuzzo. You know, just once, I would love to see a dive called a dive, and that's it. Just to prove a point, just to send a message that this nonsense is intolerable. And the Stars are a great hockey team. They are where they are because they're great. They don't need to be doing this, as evidenced by how tight the game was. Look, there's 98 seconds left in the game and it's tied. But there was a lesson to be learned here, boys and girls. What have we learned about the Stanley Cup playoffs? For officials, it is essentially a working vacation. If you give NHL officials an excuse not to call a penalty in the Stanley Cup playoffs, they won't. Patrick Maroon gives Esa Lindell a shove in front of the net. Maybe it was an honest-to-goodness shove that made Esa Lindell fall down. Maybe he was diving again. I don't know, and obviously the officials weren't sold as well, and it resulted in this.
At the left point was Bouwmeester. Back behind the net, Maroon with it, out in front with a shot. He celebrates, he scores! Pat Maroon beating Ben Bishop with 1:38 remaining. The Blues go back on top.
And the Dallas Stars are not going to be happy with this. They think Maroon interfered. Bouwmeester gets a puck deep. You see Maroon right there. He puts his man down, and that gives him separation. He's able to put it up and over. He knocks Esa Lindell down.
Once again, whether that was an honest-to-goodness shove from Patrick Maroon or it was Lindell diving again is neither here nor there. You could be the boy who cried wolf or the player who cried cross-check. They both have the same result. And sometimes it costs your team a playoff game. That is a dang it. A huge one and a costly one. The Blues went up 2-1 in their series after that. Obviously, the Dallas Stars came back to tie it at 2 games apiece. Without that whole series of nonsensical events, who knows where this series is at. But wait, there's more. Could be a little bit of a problem with Dallas, because liberties have been taken with Ben Bishop in this series. Just look at this.
Bishop leaves it for Klingberg. Bishop involved in a collision with Sundqvist. Lindell not happy with the Blues forward. And now Klingberg comes over and knocks Sundqvist to the ice. Gunnarsson kept the puck in the zone for St. Louis. Bishop down behind the Dallas goal. Cleared into the Blues zone as Bishop goes after the referee, Brian Pochmara. He was not happy.
Ooh, that's a whack. Wait, can it be painful and also a dive? Like, that might be a case where it's okay to call the penalty and the embellishment. People talk about Eastern bias. There's such a thing as Canadian bias, I think. Because a lot of people talk about Mike Smith being one of the most flopping goalies in the entire NHL. Dude, Ben Bishop has been at this for years. I remember specifically in 2015 when the Tampa Bay Lightning made it to the Stanley Cup final against the Chicago Blackhawks. Ben Bishop led the entire NHL in penalties drawn by a goaltender. I believe he had 13, and the next closest goalie had 8. Something like that. He led by a wide margin. And sometimes you're the most messed with goalie. After all, Ben Bishop is a fantastic goalie. He's nominated for the Vezina again. So naturally, he's going to take the most grief. But the problem, sort of like with Lindell, sometimes you go for the call and you don't get it because you've lost that trust. To Bishop's credit, though, he drew a slashing penalty from Jordan Binnington, which, when was the last time you saw a goalie draw a minor penalty from another goalie? That's a unique skill. So I got to take my hat off to that. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Before we move on to our last one, which is going to make me yell and scream, I want to see Esa Lindell do his impression of Woody from Toy Story one more time. Howdy, howdy, howdy. I don't know.
So Bortuzzo's getting 2 for cross-checking and embellishment to Lindell. Yeah, your arms don't go flying when you cross-check. Yeah, sorry, but your arms don't go flying. That was another.
I think it was that second one that really got the embellishment call, and then maybe perhaps a third.
Now here is our last. Calling it a dang it seems like I'm underselling it. Here's Brad Marchand punching Scott Harrington in the back of the head.
Torrey Crew to the net, tipped right on. Bobrovsky's down, puck is underneath him, and the whistle goes, and that was very similar to the play at the end of the second period where that could have snuck by Bobrovsky but didn't.
Wow, that was awful. Now for our next dang it, here's Brad Marchand punching Scott Harrington in the back of the head.
Trailing 2-1. Oh, there's a shot in the back of the head.
Oh, goodness, 2 minutes for you can't do that. Anyway, our next dang it is Brad Marchand punching Scott Harrington in the back of the head. Wow, just wow. Now listen, I'm driving home a point here. The amount of people just tripping over themselves, coming to the defense of this is shameful. Well, it's playoff hockey, bro. Yeah, it's a man's sport out there. Yeah? Show it again. This is being a man? Punching a down player in the back of the head. Is this your king? Oh, yeah, man hockey out there. Yeah! You're a goof. For real. The conversation about this is that it's not a suspendable play. There's a few things there. One, is that a suspendable play? No. I wouldn't expect most players to be suspended by that. But at some point, you gotta pay the "you're an idiot" tax. You gotta pay the "I can't believe we're talking to you again" tax. There are many players around the league who have had to pay that tax. Zach Rinaldo has paid that tax. Nazem Kadri has notably and recently paid that tax. Tom Wilson has paid that tax, and it has cost him millions of dollars. Brad Marchand is a guy who's paid that tax. 6 suspensions and 3 fines. He doesn't get it. But I'm not stupid enough to believe that this is a suspension, for sure. This is not gonna get suspended every time it happens. It's a 2-minute minor that was missed. And what happens with penalties that were missed? They were just missed. Poof, sorry. But it's Brad Marchand. You know what? I was making fun of Essa Lindell for diving. This is why there's diving. This is why diving exists. Scott Harrington should have he should have just laid there on the ice. Showed up to practice the next day in a neck brace or something, like one of those donuts. Cause what's it gonna take? What if one of the Blue Jackets players, what if Boone Jenner, who was right there, what if he sucker punches Brad Marchand? What happens? Coincidentals? That's what he does late in games where his team is down by 1 goal. He did it last year against the Leafs in Game 3 against Morgan Riley. Oh yes, I remember. How many people right now are gonna talk about how diving is shameful in a conversation with Brad Marchand? Keep going, keep going. Just twist yourself right into a pretzel. Sorry, I'm a little hot under the collar. This guy is a taxing individual. It's not even just that he punched him in the back of the head, which he's done multiple times. He did it to Thomas Buchanitz. In fact, Thomas Buchanitz called it out on Twitter, and that went uncalled too, because of course it did. NHL Department of Player Safety. The NHL Department of we suspend guys sometimes. Player safety. Get lost. They know Marchand's coffee order at this point. What should I put on the cup, Daddy? It's not just the punching in the back of the head. He ran away. So many people, oh, big boy hockey. Oh, it's a man's sport. What about being a man is that? Sucker punching a guy and running away? You ought to be ashamed of yourself. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. Thanks for telling on yourself, I guess. So I began this with saying it's twofold. I know it's not a suspension, so let me get to this. Perhaps it should be. I know it's not in the rules now, but maybe it ought to be. The word literally is abused far too often in the English language, but the rules in the National Hockey League change literally every year. The puck over the glass, that didn't used to be a thing. The trapezoid, brand new. The Sean Avery covered up Martin Brodeurs' face. They didn't know anyone would ever be that dumb, and then he was, and they changed the rule. Passing forward used to not be a thing. Remember the 2-line pass? Awful. Well, of course it was awful. That's why we changed the rule. Wow! You get rid of awful things by changing the rules? Do you know of any awful things we could weed out of the sport with rules? I have a suggestion. Can I make one? And to be clear, the dang it here is not on Brad Marchand. This guy knows he can get away with a lot. And I saw a lot of people go, well, if he gets away with a lot, how come he's been suspended 6 times and fined 3? He gets away with a lot more than he's caught for. I didn't think I needed to spell it out that plainly. Oh, I forgot about this. Look at this.
Have made otherwise, but that was about it. Did you ever try one of those?
In junior, I did my last year. I had the trainer sew on extensions and make it bigger in the armpits so that if there was a puck that went through the 7-hole, it just might hold up a little bit.
Atkinson's stick has been broken in anger, and so he will get another. Bruins fans impatient. Not really loaded with understanding, but Atkinson comes back. 3:33 gone in overtime number 1, and Marchand with a little hook on Atkinson.
Steps on his stick, delays the game. I believe there's a penalty for that, but gamesmanship, playoff hockey, big boy hockey, shut up! And then Atkinson goes out and gets a new stick. All right, hurry up. And Marchand, watch this. You see this? Did you miss it? I'll show it again. Atkinson should have gone down like he took a bow and arrow to the face. That's the only way you're gonna get anything out of this guy. The dang it is not on Brad Marchand. Dude, this guy knows gamesmanship. He knows how to manipulate officials. He just does. The dang it is on the officials and Department of Player Safety who keep getting punked by this guy. Literally head dunked in the toilet and given a swirly. It's not that he goes up to other teams like the Blue Jackets and just goes, what are you gonna do about it? It's that he knows the NHL's not gonna do anything about it. So why would he stop doing it? It might help him score a goal, might help him win a game, might help him win a Stanley Cup. Why would he stop doing it? It is not Brad Marchand's job to stop doing things that will win his team hockey games. He's paid handsomely for that. Oh, we'll deal with it internally. What, like the lick thing that happened twice? Because it had to happen twice? Joke! I feel like I've been yelling about this too long. Just to wrap things up. Oh, I can't believe you get paid to talk about hockey. Oh, you're just salty. Remember, this is what you're defending, big guy. Yeah, that definitely needs to stay in the sport. You're right. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Sorry about all the yelling. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe. If you really liked it, tell all your friends. Ow! Dang it, Brad!